a lot of us learn about like attachment parenting, right?
Mhm.
And we want our kids to be securely attached, like it matters so much, and it makes all these big things. So we think, we get sold this idea that it has to be you, like it has to be you that they are with, like sometimes 24 hours a day. Like, so if you're not getting sleep, well, too bad. This is like for your child's future.
Mm.
If you're, you know what I mean? Like if you haven't seen your friends in a while, it's okay. You're building this and so I think that that can be a place where people feel this sort of push and pull. Like, yes, I'm
Totally.
modeling in every second, but this idea of that it feels that we have to shift from this idea of this thing from infanthood where, yeah, like babies need to be like next to a loving caretaker at all times. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same person all the
No,
time,
I
but
agree. Yes, we're
they do
aligned
need
in
that.
that.
But things also change as they grow, and they actually need, you need time away from them. They need time with other people. Do you
Mhm.
agree? I mean, is this something that
Yeah.
we have to
No, I
kind of
totally agree.
navigate these waters between being there, being present, being available, and hold it and having some space for ourselves?
Yeah, you made me think of something, Hunter, in that regard, which I think is easily to fall prey to, something like attachment theory, which, in its purity is beautiful, right? The whole concept is creating a secure base, right? But I think sometimes out of our own needs, we'll kind of shift that into thinking like I'm the one,
Mm,
I'm somehow have been appointed the one that has to be there to create that secure base, or that your physical presence is the only thing. From I from my awareness of it, and study of attachment theory, like that, I don't think was the where we were headed. But it's this push pull as a woman. um we do care and we want to provide that caring, but we have to provide that caring to ourselves. So going back to, sorry, my mind's going like five different ways with what you said because you said so much. I'm going back to the, um, it has to be me, and how important that is. That there's something that actually is self-serving in that, around getting our own needs met. That was something,
it's like a
when I share
significance
about,
thing, maybe, like it's
yeah,
like our
well,
ego grasping for significance. I
ego,
mean,
right? We want to be needed.
yeah.
It's a very insecure time. And like you said, I think earlier too, like, you're going into the unknown. It's new territory, and we're trying to, give it structures and that are like, there's an author, Alison Gopnik, who wrote, The Gardener and the Carpenter. Do you know that? Oh, you
Yeah,
will
yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
I've heard about that. Mhm.
Yep, you'll love it. Um, which is this job of mothering or parenting has only been kind of identified as a job since the 50s, right? And it really did us a big disservice when we turned it into a job, because that's where we did turn it into something like school or a job where the product is your child and it's
Mm.
a reflection of you. And, that whole paradigm has really messed us up in a lot of ways, versus a garden. So you're not sculpting this perfect child, you're planting a garden that you have an idea of what you think it could be or should be, but its own forces take shape, and you're there to provide, its basic nutrients, right? And provide, what it needs to grow and develop into itself. But you're not there all the time, there's other people can tend the garden. And I think it's important to have that. But
Mhm.
if I go back and look at my parenting, like, I'm very aware that my mom had children to get her needs met, right? She didn't, it, you know, it, the relationship with my father from the start was never like great or close. So when that isn't really strong and you're not getting, your intimacy needs met in other ways, it's super easy to turn to our children. So then of course something like attachment parenting, well, that's just a handy tool to say, to give me the reason why I they need me. I have to be here. I'm so
Mm.
important. So I just said, like, put a lot of different facets into
Yeah.
that. I hope it made sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, so it's interesting, like, I think kind of what you're pointing to is like you're trying to say like I mean, and this is something I've thought about, like, it's almost like I think sometimes it's when we make our kids our everything and we make ourselves the everything for our kids,
Hmm.
then in some ways, like if it's all about them, it's almost like also too much pressure on those kids too. Like
Yes.
it's not fair to the kids to be like your everything. Like you shouldn't be getting all of your needs met through your kids because that's kind of not fair to them. That's like too much pressure
Mm-mm.
on them, right? I mean,
Oh,
like
I so agree. Andrew, I couldn't agree more with that. It's, and a lot of things I think ensue from that, from the child. They feel it, right? They
yeah.
feel, and I was someone, that pressure to meet my mom's needs. I complied. I was kind of became enmeshed and dependent and went that route. Others may, you know, totally rebel and repel against it, and then the mom's
Mm,
like, well, I'm giving all myself. Why aren't you
mhm.
receiving? Because we feel that, the child gets lost in that picture. I know I did, right? Like who I was didn't matter, what I cared about or what I valued, or, hearing from me in aspects that didn't align with what she wanted, I just shut down, I put aside because I only put out what I thought she wanted and what she needed and what would make her happy. And, that was, I know personally, a huge disservice to me. And I've done a lot of work over the years, to develop those parts. And that's fine. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I did go through a phase of blaming her. I'm not going to lie. But once I got through that, it was what I need, it's perfect. That's my adult development. That's what, and my kids served as a vehicle to help, me continue to work through that as I mothered them.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Janla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.